Hello and good evening. Welcome to the Biokinetic Canine. We are live at 5. Nice to be back to give you your live talks again. So if you can hear me, please let me know. If you're here, say hello. And what are we talking about today? We are talking about your dog's structure. Why it matters. What is important about his structure? A dog is a dog is a dog. No, not actually. So how did I think about this now? Why is structure important? Quite simple. Hi, Riani. Thank you for watching. So if I look at what's happened to me this past month. Last month, I had to have a complete knee replacement. So I've had these knee issues. They've been coming and becoming more and more. And so now last month it was, okay, let's just replace the whole knee. So this is Angela 2.0. And why did this come about? My structure. And how did my structure come into being? Is I took up a sport late in my life. So for me, when I was growing up, I wasn't very sporty at all. I never did any of the school athletics. I was always the person on the side or dodging these things. And then I would go to gym with my father. He was a bodybuilder. We did weight training and I was fine. Late in my life, I started karate, a very different physical sport, and it required a lot of different elements of your body, different movements from your body. Hi, Bob. Nice to see you. So what happened? So with the kicking and all of those things, I could do them all, except on the one side, it was always a little bit more difficult. And my knee started playing up. I went to get it looked at, and what do you know? I don't have a knee issue so much, but I've got a rotated hip. So my hip's out, which affects my knee. And so my structure, something I never thought of, I never felt it being wrong, came out while doing a different kind of sport. So what does it mean for your dogs? And because this is what's happened and it's been ongoing all my life, now my knee has needed to be replaced. It's been worn excessively faster than what it should. But what does this got to do with our dogs? So let's get into that. By the way, this is the Biokinetic Canine. I've placed this video on some other pages. So if you want to comment or anything like that, and I need to get back to you, please post on my Facebook page where we are hosting this live. Then I can see you and I can comment and talk with you. So how does this work with our dogs, and particularly sporting dogs, because we are going to be asking a lot of their bodies. So how does structure come into play? Well, first of all, if we go right the easiest part, you have to look at your dog's body and shape, body size and shape. Is your dog a breed that is heavy set like a Rottweiler? They're quite heavy set. Or is it a lightweight dog like a Whippet or a Greyhound? Same size, but different structure, different muscle look and feel. A Rottweiler is generally used for its strength and Whippet is speed. So, but then you look at body shape and size within the same breed, and you'll get different shapes and sizes within the same breed. So if you're looking at body size and shape, what are we looking at? We're looking at the weight of your dog, the structure, the muscle density of a dog. How will these things impact the sport that you are doing? Is the sport that you're doing suited for the body shape and size of your dog? This is very important to consider, because if you're doing something and his body shape and size is not helping you in that sport, you are causing early injury, beginnings of an injury. So an easy one is the weight of your dog. Is your dog slightly overweight for the sport that he's doing? Is he doing a lot of high impact exercises or feats in his sport? And if he's overweight, these are really dangerous for the joints, etc. So body shape and size plays a big role in your dog and the sport that you choose for your dog. Then if we look at angulation. Angulation is the angles of the shoulders and the angles in the back end, the hips, and the long bones of the thighs and knees, or shins. We're looking at your straighter angled dogs versus your more angulated dogs. So you even get over angulated dogs. Most dogs, angulation, and in their breed specification, it's designed, the dog is designed and bred according to what it was used for. So your working dogs will have slightly more angulation, not over angulated, and dogs that are like guard dogs that they don't have to do any long distance running or anything like that, they would be more stocky and less angulated. But these things you have to take into consideration. You need to know how and why you need to know the angulation of your dog. And then you need to know, is your dog's angles more straight in the front and more angulated at the back? Or is it also a little bit straighter in angles in the back? For me, to have a balanced dog of both more straight front and back is better to have is better than having an unbalanced dog where the angulation is straighter in the front than in the back. So if there is, if your angulation of your dog is more straighter than angulated, these things you must consider, especially if you're doing something like agility. Your agility dog will be able, with a more straight angulated body, will be able to jump, but the landings will have a higher impact on those joints than a more angulated dog. So the angulated dog will have a better absorption factor when it comes to jumping and the impact of landing. But then when it comes to be really have tight corners and to run and turn sharply, then you need a more straight angle dog, because those dogs will be more stable on solid ground and they'll be able to, they're more agile in the body. So your landings on jumpings will have bigger impact on a straight angle dog, but they will be able to do turns much more tightly. But if your dog is a little bit more angled, if there's more angulation in their joints, and you push them to be really agile around corners and you ask them to make tight corners all the time, you're putting extra strain on those joints. So you need to know what would be the weak areas for your dog in your sport, considering just the angulation of his body. And then you can work around those areas and you can train around those areas to make the dog have a better performing career. So your angulation is very important, and it's important that you understand and know how this works with regards to the sport that you're doing. Then you're going to look at the structure of your dog for the breed and the sport that you're doing. Because even like I said earlier, the same breed dogs have not all got the exact same body. So even if I look at my particular breed, I enjoy my German Shepherd dog. And for German Shepherd dogs, you get dogs that are more straight angled and more square. And you get dogs that have got higher angulation and they're standing a little bit more sloped when they're stacked. And then you get also dogs that are long in the body or they're more square and stocky. So all of these things you must take into consideration. And if your dog is a little bit more longer in the back, so their waist underneath the last rib to the pelvis, if that section is a little bit longer in the back, then you must know that more often than not, they need extra core strength, because that extra length in the back puts extra strain on the core muscles. And then this comes into play, especially if you're doing sports, especially if you're doing any jumping, any turning, wiggle sticks, IGP, if you're going around the hides, fighting the helper, sharp turns, all of these things, you need stronger core muscles. If the core muscles are weak, the whole back end of the dog is less controlled and they are more likely to be injured. So you need to be able to assess these things in your dog and know particularly what core exercises you require for your dog to make that extra length in the back stable. Because it's longer, it's a little bit more unstable, and you need to make those muscles stronger to keep the back of the dog stable so that the front and the back has got a stable connection and they work together in harmony and tighter so the dogs can do the movements that are required. Then you're looking at, because of these things and the various structures and the angulations and the muscle densities of the dog, these structures directly affect movement. So if your dog is less angled, say for example in the shoulders, its front reach is a lot shorter than a more angled dog. A more angled dog has got a longer reach, so their step will be a lot, they will cover more ground in one stride than a more straight angled dog. So if you are doing lots of tracking and lots of distance work, you must know that your more straight angled dog has to take a lot more steps. And so they are prone to becoming tired more quickly to cover the same amount of distance. Say if your dog is over-angled, he will be able to take a really long stride, cover a lot of ground, but it's going to take a lot more effort to get there because his ligaments are a little bit elongated, and so he needs a lot of muscle strength to carry those joints that are now over-angulated and have got that major reach. It puts a lot of strain on the joints, and you would need to increase the muscle strength around the joints, especially for over-angulated dogs. This is very important. So how does this affect the movement of your dog, and how will it then affect the sport? If the longer stride is more difficult for a dog because he's a little bit over-angulated, how does he turn a corner to make it really tight? It's more difficult for the dog than if it's got a short stride. So if you take IGP and they're just running the blinds, sure, they can run across. An over-angulated dog can run across to the next blind really easily with a lot less effort. But to take that blind really sharp, it requires a lot more core strength and shoulder strength to control the corner of their blind. Whereas your more straight angled dogs, they will have to take a lot more steps, and to get to the sixth hide, they will be using a lot more energy, but their corners can be really, really tight. So these things you need to take into consideration when you're looking at your dog and you're looking at the sport that you're doing, and look at what parts in your dog structure are more prone to injury and how can you make those better to protect your dog. Tracy, hi, nice to have you here. So if your structure directly affects the movement of your dog, then naturally that movement will affect the performance of your dog. What type of dog and what structures are you looking for in your dog for the particular sport that you are doing? But if you now have your dog in front of you, how can you assess what are your weak areas and how your dog is built? Because just like humans, we are not all built the same. We're all a human, but I'm most certainly not the same as the next person next to me. Some people are bigger boned, some people have bigger muscle density, some people are more lean and languid, and they look like cooked spaghetti. So everything with regards to angulation and structure is different, even within the breed that you favor, even within the sport that you enjoy. All the dogs are different in their structure, and you must take these things into consideration. So this involves lines and angles and maths and straight versus angulated, and how these things all affect your dog, how it affects his movement, how it affects his performance. And of course, because all of these structural differences affect movement and performance, and it allows for weaker areas and stronger areas within the body of your dog, structure then obviously influences the likelihood of injury. So more often than not, if you don't understand the structure of your dog and what to do to make the various weaknesses in your dog stronger, or how to use the strengths of that body to protect the weaker areas of your body, or how to train for your sport so that the dog doesn't have early injuries or early onset of injuries. These things are very important to understand. And that's why you need to understand structure and how it affects your dog's performance. And then some people will say, oh, but it's just a pet. I don't really need to know these things. Every pet is also just so much of an athlete. If your dog is jumping on your couch to come and sit next to you and cuddle by you by the TV and then jump off again, know that his structure impacts his body condition, and how you can keep these things and injuries at bay by just knowing how to protect the various areas of the body through the correct exercises and implementing the correct conditioning and fitness exercises for the sport that you're doing in conjunction with your dog's body shape and structure. That's why I read, oh, but if I have a Mallee, don't you have a general fitness program for Malinois? And you go, no, not really, because I've seen shorter bodied Malinois and longer bodied Malinois, taller in the leg and shorter in the leg, more muscular, more lean. Malinois with more angulated backs, back end of the and shoulders, and more straight angulations in the shoulder. So if I'm going to be doing a fitness and conditioning program for your dog, I need to know your dog. I need to know how he's moving, what is his reach of stride, how balanced is his body, is there any compensations that he's doing, how do we overcome these things, and then what sport is he doing? Because the fitness and conditioning program for a hunting dog is completely different to the fitness and conditioning program for a flyball dog. Those two programs would look different. Maybe some of the exercises may look the same, but your focus areas will most certainly be different. And I can't give the same program generically to every dog. Then I would be doing all those dogs a disservice. So when you are looking at designing a program for your dog, please take his structure into consideration. Look at his angulations, look at his weak areas, and look at the sport that he's doing, so that you can strengthen those weak areas so that he can perform better in the sport that he's doing. So let me see, I've got here, oh, my last Malinois was not built like Ego. There you go. So this is Bob. She's got a Malinois which performs beautifully. This dog, oh my word, he's a wide awake. And she's saying that her previous dog most certainly didn't look like her current dog, and they're both Malinois. Now with her, there is two different programs that you would give just because the dog doesn't look the same, and whether he did the same sport or not would be another reason why you would tweak a program. And the same for Tracy. Her two Dobermans are night and day. So you would, again, even if your dog is at a different age, their body structures change with age, and you need to note these things when you are putting your program together. So if your dog is quite young, there's certain things that you need to protect of a young dog. And if your dog is fully grown and he's more senior and he's very competent in the sport that he's doing, but now you need to start to protect the body because certain things may be starting to fail, then there's definitely different programs that you will be putting together. So when you are putting a program together for your dog, or if you don't know how to do a program for your dog, that's why we are here. You're most welcome to contact me. I'm happy to help you with looking at your dog and drawing up a program for you. We do one-on-one programming for virtual training. So you send me all the videos, I send you comments, and we tweak them and we get your dog to improve. And I've seen some dogs that have come along absolutely amazingly. You cannot, even I can't believe the progress of not only the dog, but of the handler too. You cannot be more proud to see these people and their dogs come along. I was like, oh, I can't believe it. So when you're looking at your sport, look at the dog that you have, and not only the drive and the training, etc., that you're doing. These things are something else, but we're looking at protecting that dog's body. You look at the structure and how you can make that body that carries that dog around and has to do all the things that you ask of that dog, how you can make that stronger and more effective and last longer, so that you can have a long competitive career. That's what we all want with our dogs. Not only a long competitive career, but so that your dog can eventually retire gracefully and have a long life that is pain-free. That's the goal. Let's see. Tracy, I would just let me see here. Tracy says, I would continue to participate in your program even if I were to get another dog, just because of what you said. Every dog is different. Tracy, well, thank you so much. But yes, every dog is different. Absolutely. You can't just put a rubber stamp, oh, here's a program for Dobermans, here's a program for men. It doesn't work that way. As soon as somebody does that, please move on. Please move on. Find somebody that you can connect with. Let me see here. Bob says, I'm going to get new pictures of standing and lying and sitting as he's growing. He is changing. Yes. So as your dog grows, your dog's structure changes. We've all seen puppies, certain growth joints, the growth plates all close at different times during the growth of your puppy. So that's why they're running and they all over the place and they look lump and everything else, because their body is not yet in balance. They're still getting all their own balances and their own steadiness together. So yes, as your puppy is growing, his structure changes, and you most certainly do not do all the same fitness and conditioning that you do on an adult dog, on a puppy. Never, ever, ever, ever. So it changes as your dog gets older and even into adulthood. Then your dog is grown, they know the body is there, but even becoming more mature, the muscle structure and density changes. You need to know these things. And then as they become senior, again, there's small tweaks that you have to make. You have to then start to increase their stability, because even as people get old, they become a little bit more unstable on their feet. And so the same thing happens with the dog. And so your conditioning and your fitness programs change with your dog. Let's see, Bob says, I found someone I connect with. If you can put up with me, we can put up with any. Bob, you are an inspiration. Your questions are phenomenal. I love them. And when you say you're going to ply me with information and questions, bring it on. Bring it on. I live for them. So no problem at all. I hope all of this has helped everybody out there. Please look at your dog. Look at the structure of your dog. If your dog is showing, if there's a weak area of your dog, he was born that way. There's nothing he can do, but you can do things to make him better and perform better with his dog. That's the goal. We want your dog to not only excel in the sport that they're doing, but to do so comfortably and in a good way where it doesn't injure their body, that they are doing better in their sport, but also physically in themselves and in their body. That's what we're looking for. So remember that if you need to contact me, you can find me on our Facebook page at the Biokinetic K9 page. Any comments that you have, put them in over there and I'm happy to answer you. Even if you found me on another page, just hop over there and then I can answer your questions or comments. Any emails, you can email me directly at fit@thebiokinetick9.com. There it is now. And you can find me on our webpage at thebiokinetick9.com. So I wasn't here for the past month, but I'm feeling much better now. Every time as the day went on, so many went, oh no, Angela, we're not speaking to you today. And so I'm here now and we can continue. So I hope to see you again next week. And have a most excellent weekend. Cheers, everybody. Let me put up my necessary information and I hope to see you again later. Cheers now.